Hi, I'm Jonathan Carter,
And I'm John Chu.
and we're both members of the Visual Studio team. In this video, we'd like to give you a quick overview of Visual Studio LiveShare and demonstrate how it can help developers collaborate more easily, whether they're in the same building, working from home, or across the world. So in this video, what we're going to do is show off a sample blogging platform application and demonstrate what a pair programming scenario might look like with LiveShare. So in this case, imagine I woke up this morning and I noticed that the ability to favorite an article no longer works, as you can see here as I try to click it. And I did a little bit of investigation in the code, and I believe that the problem is related with this Node.js route. But I'm not quite sure what the problem is, as many times happens with bugs. Now, in this point, I might traditionally use a screen sharing session or check in my code to a private Git branch to seek some help. But instead, I'm going to use Visual Studio LiveShare. And what that's going to allow me to do is seek help from John without requiring him to stare at my exact screen, without requiring us to negotiate control of the keyboard or mouse, or without requiring him to set up his environment simply to help me with this bug. So in my case, I'm on Visual Studio Code on a Mac, and I've installed the LiveShare extension, at which point I have this share button in my status bar that I'm going to simply click. Now, once I've done that, it's going to generate for me a URL that I can give to anyone, whether it's a teammate, a friend, whoever it is I want to seek help with. So in this case, I'm going to switch back to Teams. And as you can see here, I tend to ask John for help a lot. And so I'm going to simply paste the link here, at which point he can just jump into the session with me.
On my side, I already have Teams open, and I get the link from Jonathan. Clicking on the link opens a landing page that sees that I already have the LiveShare extension installed. Clicking yes, it launches my instance of Visual Studio. In my Visual Studio, I don't have the Node workload installed, nor do I have to clone the repo to get anything set up to be able to collaborate with Jonathan. All I need is that link, and it launches my IDE, and I can join the session. When I join the session, the file that Jonathan is currently editing is opened, and I can see what he's working on. I can see his cursor as he moves around in the file, and I can also see his highlights. So what seems to be the problem?
So the issue is the ability to favorite articles no longer works. And I've narrowed it down to this route in our Node.js backend, but I'm not exactly sure what the problem might be. Any ideas what we might need to fix?
Sure. So the first thing that I see is that in a bunch of these lines, you're using a const. But here, you're using a var. So how about, to make it a little bit more consistent with the rest of this, how about we change this to const? So instead of asking you to make those changes, I can go in and I can edit this myself. So I can start typing const. And I get an autocomplete list of all the IntelliSense suggestions for this line. So I can click on that and select that and get that set up. So after making this a little bit more consistent, I still want to get a little bit more context into this code. So what I can do is I can use a couple of navigation features to get a little bit more familiar with this code. What I can do is I can hover over items to be able to see hover data tips, or I can also click on things and be able to peek their definitions, like here with user. Doing that, I get to see the definition of that user and get a little bit better of an idea of what's going on in this code. So I think I understand what's going on. How about I set a breakpoint and we start debugging?
All right, so on my end, I immediately see the breakpoint that John just set. And what I'm going to do is press F5, which is exactly how I would debug my application in Visual Studio Code, regardless if I was using LiveShare or not. But because we're currently in the context of a LiveShare session, it's going to transparently remote this debugging session to John as well.
Yeah, and as you can see, on my side on Visual Studio, my debugger is launched, and it's connected to the running app on Jonathan's machine.
All right, so let me switch back to the app and attempt to favorite an article, which in fact triggers that breakpoint.
Yeah, so it stops on your side, and also on my side, I see that the breakpoint has been triggered, and I can see where we're at. So after stepping out of that, what I can do is I can step into this function, and that brings us to another file with the definition for what's going on there. And after that, I can step over in order to see how that evaluates. And actually, it should have stepped into this if statement. And actually, I can see the issue here. Over here, like you set it to 1, instead it should be -1. So how about I make that change? So making that change to -1, I can save it on my side. And what that will do is it will restart the debugging of the app and with the changes reflected.
All right, so on my end, as John made that change, he saved, that save immediately took effect, and now the app is rerunning with those changes. Now, John, instead of me going and verifying the fix, since you made the change, let's actually let you verify whether your change took effect. So then we'll take advantage of another feature in LiveShare, which is called the ability to share a local server. Now, in this case, I'm running this Node.js app on my machine. It's not internet accessible, and it's on port 3000, as you can see in the logs here. So I'm going to simply say share local server, port 3000, and then now that is transparently remoted to John so that he is able to view the app as well.
On my side, I can go into Sharing menu and view Shared Local Servers. And there you see that I can see the server that Jonathan has shared with me. I can copy that to my clipboard and go into my browser and open up that link. And I have here the front end for the running app. And I can be able to verify whether or not the changes we made worked. So how about this? How about I click on the like button and see whether or not that that works. And we see here that it works. It's upped, and the change we made works.
All right, thank you so much, John.
You're welcome.
So with that, we kind of demonstrated a quick overview of Visual Studio LiveShare and how it enables developers to, in real time, collaboratively edit and debug their applications. We are now currently in public preview, and we're excited to have all of you give the product a try and also let us know your feedback and how we can improve. So go to the link that you see on the screen, aka.ms/VSLS, to get started with LiveShare, and please reach out and let us know how your experience goes. Thank you so much.
Happy collaborating.